even, we can't even approve the minutes.
We can't even approve the minutes, yeah,
Okay,
all right.
you wanna go through the agenda? Just,
Yeah,
Maybe
but
we-
we can't decide on anything,
no, we just,
but we can go
We
through
can
it
still take
anyway.
testimony and we can, on any of the agenda items, and we can still, if there's any updates on those, agenda items, we can do that.
right, well, there's some feedback we were gonna give, yeah, reports.
Yeah, we can do
just-
all that.
We can do, but I don't wanna be redundant. You know, I want it to appear in this month's meetings, and then next month, the people who don't show up don't get an opportunity to just send minutes, so is that something we can do?
So-
Oh, we won't have minutes for this anyway, it's just a discussion.
Yeah, I think we'll have minutes, we just
We
can't
will?
vote on last month's minutes.
We can have, yeah, I didn't actually think about the minutes part. We can probably still do minutes, but
They wouldn't be official though.
it wouldn't be an action, yeah, I don't know.
I don't think there's anything that says we're not supposed to keep minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just no decision making.
Yeah,
It's
we
the
can't,
same-
vote on approving last month's
Yeah.
minutes, right?
Right.
We're still supposed to keep this month's minutes just like we always do.
Yeah,
But then these minutes would not be admissible in the next meeting.
Yeah, that would be just,
we
For-
can, and then
we
we
can?
can vote on them, I think.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
check with Clerk Pops, but let,
Okay,
we just
Yeah, okay.
assume, you know, John can still give his update on, you know, the different things and YouTube. And then you can brainstorm possible decisions, but not make them until the next meeting.
yeah, okay,
yeah, we can still talk about all the stuff, we just can't. You know, like if I was gonna, like, give a draft letter or something, which I'm not, but if I was, we couldn't vote on it, we'd have to defer it till next
Right.
month.
yeah, it's just that there may be people online that wanted to comment on the
And they
agenda
can,
item.
they would have,
So if we just go through them, they can at least comment, but we're not gonna make decisions or
Correct.
recommendations even, okay,
so basically go through the agenda just like you always. do.
Yeah,
We
we
just
will.
aren't gonna vote.
okay. Yeah, well, we just go right into the business items, although it's not business today, so, John, there was I think you were gonna oh no, you were gonna do the outreach on the sunshine law updates, so. Now that that's cleared, been signed. Am I right?
Oh, so, okay, so are you gonna find out whether anybody wants to testify first?
Yeah, we could do that. I think, is there anyone online that wants to comment on any of the business items? We don't have a quorum now, so we're gonna operate sort of a little bit more flexible. So I'm just asking if anybody has some comments. We won't be making decisions today or recommendations.
There's nobody on Zoom right now.
Nobody? Oh, okay, Suzette and Helena, but
No public testimony.
no public testimony, okay. Okay,
So in number 3, there's no public testimony on items on the agenda.
okay. She's, I don't know.
Are you gonna want to testify?
I don't know.
No, okay. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So you wanna just go ahead and,
So now you go into,
yeah. Just go into you had an update, is that for
so I
you?
don't have an update as far as this sunshine law. I hope we can, at some point invite somebody from OIP to give like a presentation to maybe collectively to all the ACs, maybe just the chairs and vice chairs, but, because I think I feel pretty clear about, and I feel 90% clear about these changes, but I think there are a lot of people that don't, and I think if OIP kind of gave us a Zoom presentation, and I think the staff from OIP would be willing, you know, we could schedule, a collective Zoom meeting just to go over these things. I think it'd be worthwhile, make people feel more safe.
Yeah, we agree, so we emailed out, OIP. And so we're just waiting for a response from them. I had a phone call with them earlier, and asked them about how does this work, can we get this, and the person on the phone was like, you just send in the request via email, and we'll pass it up to the director, and then we'll see from there how to coordinate. So I feel like it's coming, hopefully. I think this agenda item was also about reaching out to government officials and reminding them.
Yeah, well, I'd like to, we can't vote on that today, but it would be good to do, what I was gonna suggest is if we do like a draft. A generic sort of invitation,
Mhm.
and explain, we want to invite you to our monthly meetings and this is
Yeah.
what, and please come to our meetings and let us know if there are any updates that, apply to Kona and some, and I'll draft something for the next meeting and we could vote on it, but I think it'd be good to do something like
Yeah,
that. And then I
yeah.
think we could reach out to our two council members, on our
Absolutely.
own and because it could be for elected officials or for any government, state or county or federal government officials or representative departments or whatever to come in and just give
Yeah.
us some news about what's going on that they think that might be of interest.
We can give them the rest of the meeting dates for the year and,
Yeah.
let them know hybrid and everything like that.
And just explain to them, what, and then try to make it seem welcoming and not like a big deal.
Mhm.
Because I think if people started coming and giving updates, it would be really help this group, and make it serve a broader public purpose.
Agreed.
This all draft something, and maybe we could talk about it between now and the next meeting.
Yeah. What about invite, having all the council members though, because this applies to all the ACs, not just our two.
Well, I think for us, it would be our north and south specifically would be the,
No, for us, I mean, but just the rules in general, they apply to all council members,
yeah.
yeah,
And it would
so
be-
all ACs, I mean,
Oh, yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah, this this law wasn't amended just for Kona, it was
Right.
amended for.
Yeah, so we can. Just want
But they,
to.
the staff, I mean, we're not supposed to, it's not our responsibility to educate all the ACs, and I think you guys, I assume you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then this is also even, then you give updates at the chair meetings too, so that, they need to push or what, because I say South Kohala, Hamakua, their council members show. Even Ka'u had been also, so, yeah.
Did you look at that agenda that I sent with the Kaneohe neighborhood board agenda? It was really funny because I think it's because of that Bill 405, before that Bill 405, they put everybody on there and they had like Brian Schatz on there.
wow.
Everybody all the way from the federal level, all the way down to their
Yeah.
council member. And they agendize them in case one of them wanted to
To
give them
show
an
up,
update,
yeah.
but of course, because they had to have them on the agenda. But then you look at the next month's minutes, and there'd be no report, no report, no report, no report. But they had to have on the agenda, but it'll be interesting to see how they evolve their
Yeah.
agendas as a result of this legislation.
No, they don't need to.
Because they won't have to list them all,
Yeah.
but they might want to have their names on there to put them on the spot anyway, who knows?
Okay. We evolve.
But when I first looked at their agenda, I thought they had Brian Schatz on their agenda. I wonder if he came to their meeting, so then I realized what was happening.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Probably the main thing this will accomplish is the frustration that the ACs have had over the years of this quorum issue where, the famous story of Hamakua of people waiting in the rain, to see if somebody's gonna show up and, those things where, they couldn't meet if they didn't have quorum. And so I think that in terms of this effort, I think that's probably the main tangible benefit that most of the ACs will be able to have a sense of.
So does this allow now more than two committee members to attend another, like
Yes,
you were planning? Okay, so that can occur anytime, and we can confer amongst ourselves to do that
yes,
anytime, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And or we could schedule a community meeting.
yes, we could do that too.
Yeah.
And we won't have that frustration that we had with the first open space meeting where April was telling us that only two of us could go unless she agendized it as an AC meeting. We don't have to worry about that anymore.
Okay, yeah, because I think there'd be some interest in at the community level for us to bring some of that out. rather than, because it's a long drive, you know, for our guys to come in, and the time of day is not convenient for most of our folks. Okay, oh, that's all good. Not going on. Okay. I don't know if anybody else wants to make any comments on the first
On the
business item.
Sunshine law issue.
If not, John, you were gonna give us something on the, is that, yeah, on the Kona International Airport?
Yeah. So
plan?
during our last meeting, right at the end of it, I got an email inviting me to this master plan update from the Kona International Airport. And I thought it was, I don't know how I got added at first, and I was confused because I didn't know about this, but I ended up attending the meeting, and I'm glad I did. They're doing a master plan update for the airport, and it's going to be a big comprehensive process. But part of it is that they want to make sure they stay in line with the Kona Community Development Plan. So make sure that their master plan aligns with the CDP. So I think that's how, I don't know if planning sent my name in or if they found my name off the website, but I think that's why I got invited. And yeah, multiple times they brought it up. They didn't really go into depth because they kind of just laid out the kind of what the process is of updating this plan. And I think it's going to be like a year-long process. But they did mention it a couple times that they wanted to stay in line with the CDP. So I was glad I was invited. I just wanted to bring it up at this meeting. I'll if you know, as I get if I get invited to future meetings, which I hope to, then I can update the committee about what happens. And I'm also wondering, well, I wanted to bring it up in case I can't make a meeting in the future, and hopefully we could have someone else from the committee join that meeting if needed. So yeah, so that's all that is. They didn't really go into too much detail, like I was saying, but it's cool that they're thinking about us and the CDP. That was nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, thanks for participating, and it's always good to be aware that there are other agencies or processes that are aware of the Kona CDP. Sometimes you think that nobody is aware that it exists, so that was good, and I'm glad you participated.
they're gonna conduct one, it's not in the making now?
They're working on updating it right now, and so they
Okay.
have a consultant that is working with them to do it. Yeah, and like I said,
Okay.
it's gonna take through the end of the year, I think was what the timeline they showed.
Right.
So yeah.
Do you think that had anything to do with that document I found that talked about airport planning? Was that at all related?
I think so because I think they did bring up like sense of place and fitting in with the community being a big aspect of this airport update in general. So I do think so. I think as they look for a way to align with the community, I'm guessing they found out about the community development plan and saw this as a good way to do that. So yeah, I do think so. I think because that's kind of a guideline they're getting from the state, maybe. So yeah.
He's really heavy into like community outreach rhetoric, and I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, yeah.
They've got somebody in their leadership that obviously thinks that that's important.
Yeah, yeah. It is interesting. I had to learn a lot about. They did like they showed the map of the airport and laid out all what they all like where all the areas are and stuff. I don't know. It was interesting learning more about airports.
Yeah, so, John, are you gonna be the contact point then for this? You feel that?
Yeah, I think so. I'm guessing they'll invite me to the next meeting. It was big. There
Okay.
was a lot of people in there. It was like 50. It was including like Nicole Lowen, to like different airport, like company heads that operate out of the airport, and so. So I'm expecting that I'll get invited to the next one. And if for some reason I can't make it, I can, maybe ask planning to reach out to the rest of the committee or ask someone on the committee just to join, just so that we're still in the conversation. But if I can make it, then I'll plan on joining it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Questions, concerns? No? Okay, let's hit the last one, which I think is probably gonna be So the state is going to be putting on, for the adaptive management plan, they're gonna be putting on engagement. Uh, um,
This
And
has to do
outreach?
with the Kehoe Aquifer
only the KO, yeah,
management plan,
Right.
that's what they,
the adaptive management plan.
yeah.
Right, and so they're collecting, they're collecting. Well, I'm sitting on the committee that is supposed to help them organize this outreach. So I was wondering whether the action committee would want to have a presentation by the adaptive management planning, management plan team. However, there gonna be public meetings and, there's gonna be engagement. They're working up on a list of people who, they wanna contact. And, or or that we recommend the advisory committee contact. So I put in a number of names, for folks. And I was wondering whether the AC would wanna entertain that maybe at its next meeting, but, or a meeting. Or because we could do this in between scheduled meetings now.
Well, it seems like it would be an opportunity for them because I watched that meeting and they definitely wanted to stress community engagement as part of the process. So it seems like us as a separate organization that provides an opportunity for publicized public venue,
Right.
it would assist the process. So I think if they want to come and we can put it on our agenda, it would be good for further their goals.
Yeah. I thought so too, and we've had many people come, speak about water issues, over the course of years. With varying interests, including some of the developers themselves. So, I thought because we provide a public forum, this would be, something really neutral for them, because it's a public forum and it's not people recommending, go talk to this guy or talk to that guy, it's just whoever the public is, because I'm not sure they're gonna have that in that format.
Oh, well, then definitely would be a good idea.
I'm just not sure yet, because they're still in the planning phase. So I've given them a whole bunch of names, and I'll suggest maybe they consider doing that. They may do it by Zoom, or some other method, I'm not sure. But, I'll put a word in, so it's moving. And they expect to try and get something out by September.
Yeah, well, that was
And
supposed to be the deadline, wasn't it?
yeah. But what it's also done is it kind of put a little chilling effect on some of the developers who have been looking for water here, in terms of new wells or a higher increase. And so I think the adaptive management plan is geared to address the risks before we start increasing demand on it, and then react, I think, to negative impacts when they arise. And I think that's the function. I have a copy have you all seen the adaptive management plan?
I've seen the presentation that they provided at that meeting. I've got a
Okay.
copy of it at home.
Okay, I have, the one I have might be an updated version, but if I can send it out to planning, send it out to everyone, yeah, okay. It's a PowerPoint presentation, and I think it's probably a little bit more. Well, it may be updated from the one that you got, I'm not sure. So they're gonna be working on this over the next several months.
No, I think if you can get somebody to come to the meeting and we can put it on the agenda, it'd be good.
When is our next meeting? July
By
8th?
Because there seems to be more and more interest in people trying to understand the whole issue of water and how those decisions are made, so I think it would be.
And there was also notice, and I received it as well, that Department of Water Supply here is putting on webinars. For understanding water in the Kona aquifer. I forget what the title of it is though, and have people here receive that? It's a webinar?
Department of Water Supply, Department of Health.
Department of Water Supply.
Yeah, I got an email notification.
I got one from Department of Health, but not or is that from Oahu?
I thought it was from here. but it was on a
Well, You
webinar.
can look at, they're having the meetings now, they're
It is
over-
Department of Health. It's the
It
Department of
is?
Health hosting it, yeah.
I got something from the.
Oh, I thought it was
Department of Health.
DWS.
And they're
Yeah,
4 meetings, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can look at them after the
yeah,
fact too.
I didn't know if it was something that I missed.
Okay.
Department of Health.
But they're titled, groundwater and the importance.
Oh, yeah, DOH to host
as a
groundwater
resource
webinar.
in
That's
Hawaii.
correct.
The next meeting is basics of groundwater flow, and the third meeting is contaminant transport and groundwater, and the last meeting is, contaminant plume and aquifer cleanup. So this, practical.
I saw
Yes.
the first one, it's super good. I saw the first one and it was very, very good.
Oh, good,
It's a series though,
yeah.
right?
Good.
Yeah, no, I saw all of Dave's, so if I missed the first one
And
already.
they're they're putting it on YouTube, the recording.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you
can
can
go back.
right.
watch them in retrospect.
Oh, is the first one posted?
Oh, let me
It
check.
was on June
I
sixth.
can't hear him to see it.
Yeah, I'll check, I'll look for it.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that somebody decided to do this, and I was kind of surprised when it came into my email.
So I think the interest in the water spreading across, I'm hoping the silos are being, more cooperative amongst each other. And that's the sign I look at it. So I will send out that adaptive management plan, the latest one that I have, and then, if anyone is interested, so.
Well, the
based-
main thing is you should find somebody to come to our next meeting.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's all I got. to
That'd
report.
be great.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'd be really great. And thanks for keeping us in the loop, Charlie.
Yeah, well, believe me, the whole community is interested in this on all sides of the issues. Not just the developers, the communities, we are,
This kind of, it's related as far as water, but it's not related, but we sort of briefly talked about maybe inviting Councilman Inaba to talk about his county initiative regarding
Water.
Is that something that would be good to have at the same meeting, or are they topics too big? Would it be better to have them at 2 different meetings? Does anybody have an opinion?
I think that Holeka would like to be at the meeting with the adaptive management plan. I ran into him at the mayor's meeting and he said if there was something that we really wanted him to come to coming up that he would attend. So yeah, I don't know if you also would want him to talk, or I imagine he would be there regardless, if he can't make it. So
But I mean, if we want him to come to talk about that issue, we'd have to agendize that issue, that's what I
Right.
meant.
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that's an issue that I'd like to hear more of his perspective on why he did it and what he thinks the outcomes will be, But I just didn't know whether if Charlie is able to get somebody to talk about this Keauhou Aquifer Water Management Plan, whether also having Councilman Inaba on the agenda to talk about his resolution would be too heavy of 2 items to have on one agenda. That was.
Yeah, and I'm not sure his resolution and the adaptive management plan necessarily.
Well, they both have to do with
Well,
water.
it does, but,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't want to put either of them in a position where, one has this goal and the county maybe has a different goal, or.
Okay, well, maybe we
I
should
think
keep
that's
it,
gonna
maybe
confuse
we
people.
should keep it
I
as
would
separate
keep it
agenda
separate
items
until
at
they bring-
different days.
They'll have to put-
Okay,
Yeah,
But
I think
would-
I agree with both those points. They're both kind of big topics, and then yeah, I agree with Charlie.
okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna volunteer inviting him to present, but if I talk to him in the meantime, I'll just suggest that we're thinking about it for a future meeting or something like that.
Mhm.
Jeff, have you seen the new adaptive management plan proposal?
Well, I wonder.
I was
yeah,
wondering what your
I've
thoughts on
got-
it.
Not sure I wanna be on record. I just got stuff yesterday from
Okay.
Katie. So I
Okay,
have the project. description and then an outline for the adaptive management plan. So
Yeah.
those are, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, cause I
And-
didn't know how public those documents were. I just asked her whether then she sent them to me, so.
Yeah, they're public now.
Are they?
Well, they intended it to be public now because they're asking me to do outreach and I really need that.
Good, good. I was gonna ask Katie, but thank you.
I think,
Good.
but I think you're on the mailing list too for an invite. I think I might have saw your name on it.
Well, she implied that or whatever.
Yeah, okay, good.
So it's a updated version of that PowerPoint that,
The one that I have now,
Yeah.
I believe so. The PowerPoint they gave us
yeah,
several months ago.
yeah.
One thing this is my opinion, but one thing I noticed is you guys sent in testimony for Bill 1602 to say legislature for the monitoring wells. And that bill passed.
Friday, the mayor signed it,
The government.
1602.
Governor.
The governor.
Oh, yes, excuse me, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, the governor signed it. on
Okay,
Friday.
I know it's not on the list of veto, but seems to me it would be great. Maybe a question you guys could ask is, can those wells be incorporated into this plan? Seems logical to me. I mean, that's what you guys advocated for. And then, so that seems to be a good spot to incorporate that.
And those are wells for testing.
Well, those are for monitoring.
I
Those
mean,
those
they're
are
not for
monitoring.
pumping, they're for,
Correct. Those are monitoring wells to inform what's happening in the aquifer.
well, it'd be interesting to know if Senator Kanuha is somehow involved in this process, because when we were preparing our testimony for 1602 and I had communication with his office, I got a comment that they were gonna see what CWORM was gonna do in general with community outreach, and they said if CWORM didn't get some kind of community outreach program going regarding the Keho Aquifer, then they would do it themselves. So I think they must be happy to see this process starting, but I was
Right.
wondering whether they are participating together at all. I guess it might be a good question to ask Senator
Yeah.
Kanuha's office, or whether they view, because that was a specific question, point that they brought up in terms of, like, they were waiting to see how CWORM was gonna respond, whether they're gonna start doing community outreach or not.
Yeah.
And they felt it was really important. So it seems like they should be involved.
Absolutely, yeah, but since you guys did that testimony, I thought this would be a good vehicle to further.
And the $4 million got approved for the monitoring too. That's a big deal.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They're in contact, I think, between
They should
the
be.
LNR and CWORM and the whole thing. It's just, I think it may be, I think the monitoring wells themselves were important to the fact, to that they were gonna do something
Right, but
adaptive
they don't-
as monitoring, but they don't call it out
Right,
specifically.
they don't say it, there's nowhere reference where they're gonna put them, and so
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
these would be very good information
Yeah.
to inform this adaptive management plan.
Mhm.
Do you think that if you get somebody to come and give this presentation to us, that we should invite Senator Kanuha to participate as well, because of this bill, or not?
I think an invite to him should be open.
But I
He
mean,
could
to draw
attend
it to his
every, yeah,
attention,
sure,
because I think
but
his office probably wants people to know about what happened with Bill 1602,
Yeah.
and they're definitely related,
yeah,
as far as water management.
well, it's his district too, isn't it? Part of it. Yeah, so, how do we handle that?
Handle
Terms-
what?
Invitations to, I can just talk to Pete and, and he'll give me a yes or a no, I'm pretty sure, whether they can do it or not, or how they wanna do it, because they're gonna, as I said, it might have to be a Zoom, I don't know if it's in person, I prefer in person, but we'll see if he can travel as early as that, and then, and Senator Kanuha, I guess he could come in on Zoom.
If
They're off session right now anyway.
you get a confirmation, then we know somebody's gonna be on the agenda, then we could make a list of people that we wanna specifically bring it to their attention. But we can't do that unless we know for sure that someone's coming.
Mhm. Okay. I'll text him right now.
And then there might be other people that we want to invite as a result.
Yeah, I'll send him a text as soon as I can, or email today when I get back. So any more discussion on that? You,
So I got I get, we get these emails from electric company. Saying that, we're gonna shut off your power and we don't have to warn you about it anymore. And when we shut off the power, that means that you might not have water for 2 weeks. That, I got an email like that, okay, about maybe 2 weeks ago. So that means that, what are we doing about that? With all this rain, this excessive rain, now I have a jungle in my backyard, just everywhere, and what can we do about that part?
Is that the problem you're talking about the, like some of the county pumps being down, is that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's what they
Yeah, I
said.
heard about that.
When they shut the power off, the pumps are gonna be down, and so they said, plan for 2 weeks.
Wow,
2 weeks. So I'm over there on the internet trying to figure out now how much water am I gonna be using for the next 2 weeks with me and my dogs and my chickens and my cats. And everything, and everything, and nobody seems to be concerned about it. Costco doesn't have water storage containers. The only place that has water storage containers is Walmart and Amazon.
but I didn't know anything about, I think it was you that sent me the information about it, I think it was you that sent.
Recently.
Somebody sent me just a little bit about that,
Well, I wonder this, and so I get these alarming things that.
yeah, well, I think it
Yeah.
would be pretty alarming.
Yeah, and it's a power shut off thing, and they said now they don't have to tell us when to warn us of when they're going to shut it off. They'll just shut it off, so be ready for 2 weeks worth of no electricity, including no electricity to the water. To access to the water, because the water pumps will be shut off due to them.
Has
Okay?
that happened yet?
No, but I don't want it to happen.
No, I know, I was just wondering if they're sending you letters, saying this might happen.
Yeah, disaster. They're talking about some future disaster that might happen.
Oh,
where
I
they
thought
have
it had
to-
to do with the pumps being down, cause there were like an unusual amount of water pumps being.
No.
Fire.
Oh.
Whatever. It could be fire, it could be tsunami, it could be hurricane. It's up to them now to shut, whenever they feel like they should shut it off because, it's a liability to them or whatever. It doesn't matter. And they said, be ready, be prepared for 2 weeks of shut off. And so, anyway, that's been a concern of mine as a citizen living here for the last 40 years. What do we do? Are we prepared?
Who initiated the contact? What department was it? The water supply or?
No, help.
Oh, Helco.
Yeah, I
It's a
think,
power shut off, program.
I think this is in response to Lahaina.
Yes.
They were sued, they're the 49% holder, I think, of the suit. And so this is a precautionary measure, so it doesn't, so they relieve themselves of, or not relieve, but they mitigate some of the liability because the fires were in Lahaina were related to their power lines coming down, and they didn't shut the line off in time, or they should have shut it as a preventive maintenance measure. So I think they're telling all their customers, it won't be just you. I haven't received anything yet.
No, I get it. The power shut off, you have to sign, I think you have to sign up with their email or something.
Oh, I see.
So, and I.
Yeah.
I started to get it right away because I know why, because they started to contact people that were within that vicinity where they felt like a fire.
Fire hazard, yeah.
Yeah, and Royal Poinciana happens to be in the fire hazard zone,
Mm-hmm.
in case, I didn't know that. But now I realize when I look around, we're all tightly packed in the neighborhood, just like, Lahaina Luna Road. Royal Poinciana is just
Yeah,
identical to that.
yeah,
And so, it concerns me a lot, and I'm wondering about that.
yeah.
In this
That's an example
water
of
discussion.
something like Telco. I wonder if for future meetings that we could maybe to invite them to give a presentation, for example. Is that a possible good idea or not?
I think it's important. I think it's important to us because it bugs the heck out of me. This power shut off thing,
Yeah,
when they said they don't have to warn us anymore. They just shut it off.
yeah, I'm thinking that's in case of an emergency though, not just arbitrary.
Well, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a disaster, but the disaster can happen anytime.
That's right, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
there seems to be more effort trying to get public to understand emergency procedures though now. That's what it's that. Now,
Well,
that's
with the rain.
more of an effort to discuss it.
Well, with the rain's been going on for what, 5 weeks, going on 2 months? All this barrage of rain, I mean, I feel like I live in Hilo now, And the thing is, we're so comfortable living here in Kona, we're not used to doing catchment.
Hmm.
But remember, Virginia Isbell used to always talk about, catching your own, make sure you catch some water and have it on the side. Nobody's doing that in Kona.
No, that's why they're talking about it more.
Yeah,
And people have swimming pools, right? So the swimming pool guys, they don't need worry, they get the swimming pool to depend on. But us small guys, we know more that kind.
yeah, I think the best we can hope for is that we're prepared for natural disasters and that they don't
We're
happen.
not,
Yeah,
that's just.
and that's, but that's what I think maybe help was trying to encourage us to do a little bit more, because Lahaina certainly wasn't. They didn't, I mean, that's my opinion, I'm not incriminating anybody, but. Even Kamehameha Schools was found responsible because they didn't mow the lawn. They didn't mow the grass was left dried and it caught fire, so they found liability against Kamehameha Schools as well.
This fire stuff in Lahaina has been going on for a long time. We have a small little land piece up there because my mother comes from Lahaina.
Mhm,
The fire comes down that hillside regularly,
mhm.
okay, that's normal. Okay,
I don't know, was it Serene when she was here or Heather brought up for a while wanting maybe us to do a presentation on emergency preparedness, so that was sort of, she was talking about that for a while and then nothing came of it, but I thought it was kind of a good idea.
You know what I think would be good, maybe as a starting point, is maybe for us to identify where those hazardous areas might be, because Waikoloa flames up every year. They flame up every year, and I lived in the village, not when it was threatened, but I lived in the village for long enough to know when the fires just go.
right, so
Oh, I rigged the whole thing, yeah.
I keep that look like a lava
Yeah.
flow.
So that might be a place to start, because the probability of it happening, having those kinds of fires. Are probably lower in areas where it's more rural and more rainfall. Like Hilo, compared, but we live on the dry side.
When I saw the rainfall, when was it? A few days ago?
Oh, no, it's been.
I thought, this is like Hilo,
I
and
know.
I come from Hilo.
Yeah, my grass is the same way. No, honestly, I live Kealia, and I was just remarking. Yeah, I was remarking to John earlier today, it's rained like every day for the last, and sometimes all night, so it is wet.
Well, my neighbor, Jimmy Guy, he passed away, but
Yeah.
he used to tell me that olden times, it used to rain up Kona Mauka like this all the time, and that when we started not getting much rain, that was unusual, that he was growing up used to this kind of rain, and of course I wasn't.
Yeah, but not my place, my place would, what would happen in my place, it would get so hot that any grass that grew would die. Okay, that's what I was used to living down here for 36 years, and I'm used to a jungle.
Yeah. You know, maybe another food for thought though is that if that power outage applies to you and the county's gonna shut you down, what are the emergency services then? Where do they get their water from?
Start collecting,
I was
it's
saying-
falling from the sky right now.
Yeah, no, well,
And if you forward that email to us, then we
Oh,
can
oh.
share it at our next chair meeting.
yeah, yeah,
And then we'll talk about how we can address it and
Okay,
maybe
okay.
try to see if we put it
Yeah.
on the next agenda.
Yeah, well, how we can approach,
Yeah, I-
what the
yeah.
best way to approach the discussion is,
Yeah.
as far as getting real
Yeah.
information.
Yeah,
yeah.
so over there on the paper, I think it has their email address, it's cdp@hawaiicounty.gov. And you email to us, and then we'll share it with chairs and we'll put it on our
Thank you.
next chair agenda.
It's been on my mind for weeks.
Yeah.
Ever since I got that email.
Yeah, well, I think these are the kind of things that, you know, whether they turn out to be just more a matter of getting a better communication, I think this committee should serve, you know, as a venue for better communication, and that's an example. She got this and she doesn't know, she doesn't understand what the risk is, and I
Mhm.
think if we can serve in a more of an education capacity, if, you know, it'd be good. So that's a good suggestion. It's a center for.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we'll consider that, once you get the letter, and then we'll talk about it more. Okay, there's nothing else in the business section.
Do you have anything you want to talk about Cahoe Aqua first? You're our expert in regional. Any water things you want to bring up before we leave that agenda item?
No, I think it's good that we've got positive movement on the adaptive management plan. I've got some particular things I'm taking, but I just looked at it, so I don't want to go on
Yeah,
record
me
saying,
too.
but I think it's good that we're moving forward with that, and so.
Yeah.
And, it's been a good year for the aquifer, in my opinion, that bill passed, the adaptive management plan passed. And then Hannah Springer got appointed to the Seaworm. She's from Kona, very knowledgeable, so there's been a lot of good momentum.
Yeah. Yeah, for the last 3 weeks, I've been looking at Hualalai replenish itself because it's been raining. When it rains at the Kona airport, you know, it's raining.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get tons of rain.
Okay, so we've reached the end of the business part. Okay, we talked a little bit about next month's agenda. Is there any other discussion? We need
I
to
had something I
undertake?
wanted to add for next month's
Go ahead,
agenda.
Don.
So I watched the last planning committee of the council meeting,
Uh-huh.
and in there they Councilmember Onishi proposed Bill 63. Bill 63 permits residential dwellings within the industrial commercial mixed use zoning district. And he specifically, when he proposed it, cited the Kona old industrial area as a place this would open up, residential housing in. So I'll take some time to do more research on it. It's got to go through the planning commissions. So this is going to take a while before it, I think we have, if I can go through it and find some ways to relate it to the CDP, which I think it does, because it promotes, infill and mixed use stuff. I would like to I'll put some stuff together and we could talk about it at the next meeting, maybe if we want to put some testimony together for it.
Well, the thing that occurred to me is, I think the draft new general plan has that whole area redesignated out of light industrial into either village commercial or high density urban. So it was interesting to me that they're doing this because in light of the draft general plan, gonna be taking that. And the whole reason they were doing it is because of even, years ago, this push that area, keeping it light industrial is no longer appropriate, that it should be mixed use or village commercial. And that this discussion's been going on for, 8 years or so. So, and I don't remember if the general plan, they were gonna put it, village commercial, and then I thought they put it in that whole big block in the draft general plan of high density urban, but I don't think they're intending it to stay in light industrial. So that was the thing that occurred to me about that agenda item. So if you can find anything in reference to that, did they specifically say the old industrial area, or are they talking about this island wide?
This is supposed to be island wide, so it's not just specific to the old industrial area. He just cited that as an example, and it sounds like Councilmember Onishi tried to pass this when he was previously on the council. So this is something that's just he's been trying to pass for a while. So I think even, sorry.
Maybe he's not aware of the general plan proposal to reclassify that land out of light industrial.
Maybe. And I still think regardless that even if they do classify that land out, I think I think opening up zoning to allow housing in these districts, they're gonna have Public Works talk about it, but I still think it's, I think regardless of what happens with the old industrial area, I think it's still a good bill, as like a good kind of putting housing in areas where people work kind of idea, thing like that. So
When we were drafting the Kona CDP all those years ago, then the TOD consultant placemakers came to town, and we toured them around and we took them out by Costco, and their reaction was, "Where's the housing?" And they were talking about that area specifically, so, but.
yeah, so I don't know what that's zoned as, if that, if that's also industrial commercial mixed use,
I
that
think
would
it
be
is.
affected by this. Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing that occurred to me is the issue of water. It's really in what we learned the hard way with the designation of the TODs is that doesn't necessarily, just because we put it in the plan, doesn't mean that water department's gonna give them water. And so I think that's a question too regarding this, is if just they say that there's gonna be a ability to put housing in those areas, does that mean the water department's actually gonna guarantee that these residential areas will be given water? I think that's a question we need to ask.
Hmm.
'Cause
Yeah, so I
it's
think it's
really,
gonna take more research. Yeah,
yeah,
looking into
but that
this.
was the other thing that came to my mind, because, we had, Mr. Matsuyama come.
Hmm.
And that property below his place, he said the only designation he could get because of the water issue was light industrial, because there's a different water requirement for light industrial. And that's why, that's what he came here to talk to us about, that he wanted to get it redesignated to high density urban in the general plan so that he could do more than put a self-storage there, and the water was the key. So, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll try to do some more research, and then I don't know when it's going to be scheduled for the planning commissions, but this will be a long process, I think, because since it has to go to them and then go to the full council for 2 readings, that we'll have some time maybe to if we
So
if we would like to testify on it.
is it the Leeward, is it the planning commission still? Is that where
Yeah.
it is?
So I heard it at the standing committee of the council is where it was introduced, but they were saying it now has to go to the planning commissions.
Hmm.
And and they'll make a recommendation on it, because it's it's amending chapter 25. So
Hmm.
then then it'll come out of them back to the council. So we have some time to figure it out. But I just wanted to put it on everyone's radar because I thought it was
I'll double check the
important for
draft
us.
general plan to see if that area is, for the old industrial, is being mapped. I'm sure it's being mapped to a different designation, which changes the situation for at least that spot. And,
Yeah, but I wonder, is the Costco area being changed?
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
So I could
Yeah.
apply to that. Madsen Davis was the big person that started beating the bushes over this issue, because he wanted to do a lot more with the land that he's leased in the old industrial area than he was allowed to do under that zoning designation.
Is that state land there?
No, Lily Oklahoma Trust
Trust,
just sold it to a private owner just
Ah, that's why. Okay,
relatively recently.
yeah. I'd say the same applies to the industrial district in Hilo.
Have you heard anything in this conversation about this particular bill at all?
No,
For-
but not directly, but I did have a question about, the TODs come up in Kona CDP and the housing, like around old age and stuff like that, but I don't think it was related to this. But I did respond to an inquiry like that.
Yeah.
Cause that the light industrial designation doesn't allow housing, but also doesn't allow all sorts of other things. It doesn't allow general commercial, you know, I mean, and so Mattson, you know, did all those improvements down by the brewery, and he wanted to have like a real estate office in there, and that the zoning wouldn't permit it because of the restrictions of that designation. Interesting subject that
Mhm.
they brought up.
Yeah, so that's all I had on that. So if we could just, we'll stick it on anyway, if we could remember just to stick on the agenda, then I'll have more information next meeting.
Okay, so we should put on the agenda that, I mean, it's a basic philosophy of it's good to, the mixed use concept is the Kona CDP really supports it, but all these other
Yeah.
questions also need to be addressed. I feel
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of guilty about this whole TOD thing when we realized that, you know, that basically the water department was gonna give any of them water, you know, I mean, it was such an idealistic vision, and then it's like, well, yeah, but none of them could do it because the water department won't give them water, you know, for high density residential
density.
development in those areas, you know.
No, I went to a Kona hospital meeting once, not many months ago, where they were thinking of building a hospital down here in the close to Kaiser area.
Oh, yeah, Queens.
No, this was Kona Hospital, before Queens.
Oh,
Before, about couple weeks before Queens made their announcement, Kona Hospital had a meeting at Rick here, to discuss their development plan. And one of the things they said was, what would be holding them up is not having enough water, that they use 40,000, I think it was 40,000 gallons a day. And they could not, they do not know if they can get that from,
the water
Water.
department.
Mhm.
yes. And that was a holdup for them. That was major.
Yeah, when somebody is just taking it for granted, and then all these different projects come up, and
Yes.
they find out, oh, they can't get the water.
Yes.
I'm glad you went to that meeting.
It was months ago, yeah, it was last year.
Okay, any other discussion?
So thanks for putting the agenda in the format of our new,
Yeah.
as a result of the change of the sunshine law, gives us our new slots there.
Right.
I see you put the government officials agenda item lower on the agenda than I entered. You had a good reasoning for doing that.
We're good at that.
I sent them the copy of the Kaneohe neighborhood board meeting, and they give like only 2 minutes to, you know, people. It's like really, every single agenda item has these really strict limitations
they get a
on
lot
how
of
long people could talk.
They get a lot of people show up.
They'd never be able to get through their agendas
Yeah.
in 6 hours if they didn't.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, oh boy. Can we adjourn? Or should we adjourn?
Are there
You don't
anything
want
we
to-
want to talk about, any other next month's agenda items that you?
Well, I think one of the things is we're gonna try and get the adaptive management plan on.
Yeah,
And that's gonna suck up a lot of.
Yeah.
hours, and I think we get.
if we
that.
get somebody there,
Yeah,
the whole meeting could be
Yeah.
potentially used by
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we might even need a different venue.
Yeah.
Depending.
Mhm.
Yeah, if we get something like that too, don't worry about my agenda item. We can figure it out later, but yeah. Because that is, as we've discussed, the very important thing is the water, so everything ties back to that.
Are you getting response for the Kona open space feedback?
We just
Contact.
shared, I think they're having their open house on the 28th. And then I'm hoping the draft is on their website. There we go.
Yeah, for announcements, the Kona Open Space Network draft plan is gonna be unveiled on Saturday, June 28th. Here at the West Civic Center from 10 AM to 2 PM. And the consultants are gonna kind of talk about what's been arrived at so far in terms of the hubs and links for the urban open space plan. So I look forward to seeing
That's gonna be-
how they're gonna present it. So that's gonna be a big deal for the end of this month and.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing else? Do we need to move to adjourn? Or we just,
Yeah, well, I guess we could probably do that.
unless you have more to discuss?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, folks, everyone. Much more to do though, huh? Okay, well, thank you guys for making the drive over to.
Thank you for being here, everyone.
Well, there's always a lot to talk about.
Good meeting.
I wanted to explain to you guys about how the monitoring well might work. You got a second or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why don't you move your chair
I will.
here? I'm having a hard time hearing.
No, yeah.